All right, Jordan, you're good.
Hello and welcome to History Club this month. And since it's May, we wanted to honor our veterans ahead of Memorial Day. So we have a special guest. Our special guest today is Carolyn Comfort. She is a retired Master Sergeant as well as one of a handful of ambassadors for the Women's Military Memorial. These ambassadors are dispersed throughout North Carolina and travel to promote the memorial and educate the public on its purpose. So please join me in welcoming Carolyn Comfort to our library.
Hello, I am Master Sergeant Carolyn Comfort. I'm retired, and I am, as was mentioned, a North Carolina Ambassador at Large for the Military Women's Memorial in Washington, D.C. I'm delighted to have the opportunity today to tell you of the Military Women's Memorial. Our memorial and museum was dedicated and opened in 1997 on behalf of 3 million women, veterans, past, present, to ensure that the contributions of military service women were preserved and celebrated as part of America's historical narrative. Absolutely, at the Military Women's Memorial, we have collections and artifacts, but most importantly, we have a living history database where we collect, capture, and preserve stories of servicewomen. I say living because our memorial is not just for women who have passed on or concluded their service. It is for all the women who are serving or who have served. It is also living because people's stories change over time. Stories have beginnings, middles, and yes, ultimately ends. We ambassadors, we talk to women every possible chance we get, trying to encourage them to register and tell her story. Every woman who served did something important, starting with when she raised her right hand and said, "I do solemnly swear to support and defend." Every person has a story to tell. Convincing someone else to tell their story often begins by telling my own. So I will share a little bit of my story with you. When I was in high school, it was nearing graduation, and I was downtown one day, and I happened to walk by a recruiting station and see a poster, and I stopped and went in, and lo and behold, within about 6 weeks or so, I was signed up for the Army and on my way to basic training. I had turned 18 in April, graduated from high school in May, and I was in the Army, the Women's Army Corps, in June. And from that point to now, today, or up until my retirement actually, I had 27 years in uniform, 22 of those years were active duty. And I'm grateful and appreciative of every day that I served. It was an honor and a privilege. I'd like you to think about the fact that less than 1% of the population will serve. The first, foremost, courageous act that anyone can perform is volunteering to serve. There are no guarantees after that. No one joins to be famous. No one joins to be a hero. They join to serve. And uniquely in our history, every woman who ever served has been a volunteer. Some women throughout our history fought or lied to be able to serve. Women like Deborah Sampson from Massachusetts, who enlisted twice, disguised as a man, to fight in the Revolutionary War. Once as Timothy Thayer, and then as Robert Shurtleff. She had no idea at the time that she would become famous. That wasn't why she donned a uniform. She joined to fight for freedom. Conservative estimates of female soldiers in the Civil War puts the number somewhere between 400 and 750. Long viewed by historians as anomalies, recent scholars argue that the women who fought in the Civil War shared the same motivations as their male companions. Some women went to war in order to share in the trials of their loved ones. Others were stirred by a thirst for adventure, the promise of reliable wages, or ardent patriotism. In the words of Sarah Edmund Seeley, also known as Franklin Flint Thompson of the 2nd Michigan Infantry, she said, "I could only thank God that I was free and could go forward and work, and I was not obliged to stay at home and weep." Seeley holds the honor of being the only woman to receive a veteran's pension after the Civil War. No one knows when they join that they will be the one to blaze a trail of opportunity for others to follow. We only know these things when looking back through the lens of history. Knowing our role in history gives us power. It helps us focus on what we can do, not what we're told we can't. It expands our sense of what's possible, encouraging us to strive for more. It helps us uphold our promises to be a country where anyone, regardless of gender, race, or socioeconomic status, can achieve their dreams. That's why we need everyone to be a part of the story. Ultimately, if we are successful, together we will change the face of courage in the minds of the public, so that when you say the word veteran, or courage, or service, people will think of a woman as well as a man. That's our goal at the memorial, to make sure that every woman veteran is included and every story of service is remembered. Your story should be remembered, and the stories of your friends and fellow veterans who are not here today deserve to be remembered and not forgotten. I'd like to tell you a little bit about a personal story. My brother has a fiance, and about 3 years ago we were talking, and I learned that her mother had served in World War II. And I immediately said to my brother's fiance, her name is Mary, I said to Mary, Mary, is your mother registered at the Military Women's Memorial? And she said, as many people do, what's that? So I proceeded to let her know about the mission of our memorial. And I said, Mary, we can register your mother. Even though someone has passed on, you can still register their service with as much of the information as you possibly have. So I would like to show you, this is Marie. This is Mary's mother, and isn't she a beautiful woman in her uniform? World War II. Marie enlisted, and on April the 26th, 1945, think of this, this was something very unusual for women to do in the 1940s, to stand up and step up and join the military, which Marie did. She traveled on April the 26th, 1945 to Sioux City, Iowa to enlist in the Women's Army Corps, where she became a nurse, eventually rising to the rank of corporal. She was a member of the Women's Army Corps, Army of the United States, until her official honorary discharge, May the 18th, 1948. While stationed in Colorado, Marie met Sergeant Rocco Nufrio. After a year-long courtship, they married at St. Boniface Catholic Church in Westphalia, Iowa, on April the 25th, 1946. Marie and Rocco honeymooned in San Antonio, Texas, and then moved to Richmond, Indiana, Rocco's hometown, where they raised their 5 children. And that's Marie. And because we registered Marie, forever and ever now, anyone who visits the memorial can use their database and call up, and just by typing in Marie's name, they can call up, they can see her photo, they can read about her military service. And that's why it's so important to preserve. Even though Marie has passed on, as I said, family members can register someone who's passed on. And active duty women can register. Women in the reserve can register. Women who are veterans and separated from the service can register. We all have a story. I have had women tell me when I ask them about registering, do you, what, have you registered, will you register? And they'd say to me, well, I didn't really do anything important. I was a clerk, or I was a cook, or I didn't do anything worthy. And I'd say, time out. You did. You stepped up, you took that oath of enlistment that I mentioned earlier that we did. I said, you did something unique, and you deserve to share and tell your story as much or as little as you would like. And so that was my personal story, though, to tell you about Marie. Our goal, ask the women here, and those of you who are watching, if you are not registered in your national memorial, if you are not yet included, I hope you will take your rightful place in history. And I ask everyone here or watching, if you know of a woman veteran, be they your wife, your mother, your sister, your niece, your aunt, your grandmother, your neighbor, make sure they are included. Make sure they are a part of our history. Make sure they are registered at the Military Women's Memorial so that we can make sure that history always remembers their names. To register at the memorial is easy. It's simply a matter of going to www.womensmemorial.org and clicking on the link that says that you want to register your service. And it is free to register. So there's no reason for anyone to have to worry about funds to register. It costs nothing. The memorial is a nonprofit organization, and if someone cares to make a donation, it would certainly be welcome to support what we do and the collections and the artifacts and, as I said, the programs that are presented, but it's not required. A donation is not mandatory. It is free to register. Do I have any questions about the memorial at this point? There. I will go ahead and tell you that in North Carolina, we have approximately 82,500 women veterans. Can you believe that number? Isn't that amazing? And we are a long way from having 82,000 North Carolinian women registered. So I really beseech you and urge you to get the word out and to register your veteran, your female veteran. If there aren't any questions, I will conclude my program.
I have a question.
Yes.
If someone were to visit the Women's Memorial, you said it was in DC, what would they be able to see there?
One of the history of women in the military is depicted. All of the various uniforms that the military has transitioned through from our beginning, displays of uniforms, displays of literature, just movies. The museum is just fantastic, actually. And depending upon when you visit, there may be special programs that are going on. Memorial Day programs, Veterans Day programs, and so forth. So it's a good idea to keep on the website and check it and get on an mailing list even to see about what's happening when, if you're planning a visit. And when, again, the database is huge. If you're going to go visit Washington and you know that your grandmother or cousin or friend, high school friend served, you can type it in and see if they're registered and read about their service. What's amazingly cool is that you can share as much or as little. So some women will share more. They may say what their awards and decorations were, what their favorite assignment was, or there may be others who simply will state that they served and when they entered and when they were separated. So it's up to the veteran to share as much or as little as they would like.
And is that database accessible online, or do you have to visit in person to see it?
To be real honest, right now they're doing some changes and some updates, so I'm not certain, but normally there is a query system that you can check.
Okay, that's great.
Do you know how many, you mentioned 82,000, over 82,000 women from North Carolina have served. Do you know about how many have registered at this point?
I do not. And I will try to find that out, and if I do, I'll let you know.
All right.
Any other questions?
I think that's it.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about the memorial.